What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I got a bunch of stuff to add to your awareness and talk about. Hopefully it has something positive for your mental diet for today. And it has to do with transmuting pain, which is something I find really helpful as someone who's dealt with chronic pain for well over 20 years, to finally start to see a light at the end of the tunnel and to share that with others so that you can see that same kind of hope too. Because a lot of the times, I'll hear like spiritual people, talking about like acceptance, and I've talked about acceptance and accepting things for what they are, but it's easy to like put 90% of that into one box, but then when it comes to accepting like suffering or illness or chronic bullshit going on with your body, it's like, I can't accept that, because for one, it's an illusion, so you shouldn't accept that, and part of you on the inside knows it's an illusion and knows that you shouldn't like settle for illusion, and so in like kind of deducing your pain and everything, it's important not to resist it, and battle against it, but also not to believe that it's a real problem. That's a big thing in letting go of a lot of the pain, is realizing it's more than likely trying to get your attention for a reason that you're not understanding at present moment, and with that, looking at your own self and asking yourself, do I feel like in danger? Is this pain a result of constantly not feeling safe, not feeling for me, dealing with like arthritic pain and like the hips and everything? It's amazing, how often, this perceived possibility of danger can start to manifest, and then instantaneously there's pain, almost as quick as you have the thought of danger, then next thing there's a correspondence of pain, and looking at pain in others, is really important too, because it's sometimes easy to put yourself on the cross, so to speak, and accept pain as part of your burden to carry in life. And you sit there and suffer with it and deal with the hopeless degeneration, and it's like going to get worse and worse and worse. And to me, it's no different than any other disease or illness. It's all has this same kind of mental narrative and this flow of just progressively getting worse, no hope, just fear manifesting unconsciously, and you have to kind of look at exactly what's going on and pinpoint the fear, because it's ultimately all about fear. And with danger, a danger pain, it's all about keeping yourself safe from like the next step. No, the next step could be the one that hurts. The next step, is like this and that. But embodying the law of assumption and really putting metaphysical practices to the test, by your faith, it's easier and easier to realize that if you aren't healed right here, right now, it ain't ever going to be here and now. It's always going to be in the imaginary future that doesn't exist. Or maybe once you're dead, once you endure this linear time and whatever for however many years, then there's this transformational power that happens when you die. Which is an insane assumption, really, if you think about it, but like, I know me personally, it was, almost like you can just accept that as part of your identity of like, oh, you're dealing with some sort of trouble, some pain. It's, oh, and then there's the story behind it. It's making you so tough. And, like, look at you, like you're the special person that can, these are mental narratives. This is all just things that you can tell yourself regarding it, which perpetuates it. It continues to make it a part of your identity, which then continues to breathe life into it, which continues then to feed it with your attention, but it's not sometimes until you have a loved one that you actually care more about them than yourself in some weird way, and you see them struggling with maybe pain. Well, then all of a sudden, then it's easier for you then to start to pray to God within to manifest and reflect healing into that other person or animal or being, some plant that you really care for. I got a big ass tree outside that I don't know how old it is, but you can't even take your arms and hug around it. It's so big, and it was like getting like black shit on all of its leaves, and I thought it was sick. And I was actually concerned for the tree. Two parts, there's a lot of wildlife that lives in the tree, squirrels, birds, all sorts of shit, but then also, if that thing died, that would be a gigantic drama burden to fucking have to cut that down. And So, I want that tree to live until, I'm no longer having to deal with it, but, putting positive energy towards it, is one thing, but, seeing like a loved one that's, maybe sick, has some quote unquote disease that's manifested, looking at that, it's so much easier then to like pray for their healing, because you don't have the mental narratives of like, oh, well, I'm just supposed to deal with this. Other people, it's important they don't feel this, but when I feel it, I can deal with it. But one of the things is, as you start praying for other people, a surprising thing starts to happen where it comes back on you, and you actually start to notice more and more healing in your own body. This is something I've experienced personally, with my dog, and she was having some pain issues, and it was like really intense for me. It was like staying up almost all night with her, and everything else, just praying. And after seeing what happened with my dad when my dad died, there was like a period of time though, when he was on death's door, spent 3 days unconscious. Could have happened any day, but then God brought him back and gave like a miraculous recovery for a while. And we were able to like say our, last goodbyes and all that kind of stuff, and so to me, it's more of a flow of seeing how, in the past, the reaction towards any type of pain, illness, disease, whatever, was fear, reactivity, and then, separation, thinking, oh, that's happening to the other person, oh, that's happening to that other being. But that's not the case. It's happening to consciousness, and you're connected to that consciousness. And so not only is there a physical manifestation in the quote unquote other, there's also a mental narrative running rampant in your consciousness of why, you are either allowing, or there's a story related to why, like, well, this happens in this way, even though, it totally violates what, Jesus was like dealing with. When Jesus walked the earth, it's like nothing but like healing miracles for the most part. And Jesus said that anything he could do that we could do, and the Bible also says that, Jesus is within us, so as you kind of wrestle with that new identity, realizing when you see sickness, illness, disease, death, all of these illusions, where in the old mind of separation, it would create more separation, where it's like, oh, that's happening to them and not to me. Realizing, no, this is happening to both of us simultaneously, and in healing yourself, the correspondence in the mirror of reality will then start to show not only healing in them, but as you pray for another, it's coming back on you. So you're starting to see how if it's not good enough for your best friend, it's not good enough for you either. And you can start dropping those stories and realizing that the more that you embody the fact that God has already healed you, now, it's not 5 minutes from now, not 10 minutes from now. It's like this very moment right here and right now. Divine timing is now, and the only time that you're ever healed is now. And anything that tells you different than that in your own mind is a narrative that you need to let go of. It's holding you as a slave and keeping the pain not only persisting, but more than likely spreading, giving it opportunity to grow as you put your attention on it, as you battle it, as you resist it, instead of just going, I am already healed, and step out in faith. And I'm not telling you to do something that's beyond your consciousness. So it's like if you are been like led to see doctors or take medicines or do therapies and everything. I'm not saying just throw all that away, but use that as a stepping stone to the next step, which is, letting it go in consciousness, letting that identity go, and transmuting that fear, which most of it is probably just danger, feeling a sense of danger, which is another flavor of fear, but it's more an insidious type of fear where, there's some fears that they're obviously illusionary. There's some fears that are just nonsense mental thoughts, mental what ifs, and what if I'm outside and I get struck by a meteorite? Some stupid shit like that. Or then the more insidious type of fear is the danger fear, where it's like, oh, well, I'm in a dangerous situation. What if a bear comes out and attacks me? Those types of fears are still illusion. As much as like our our personas, our personalities want to believe that there's certain situations where fear is good. Looking at all of that as a sign that you're still believing an old way of thinking where things are randomly happening, instead of realizing the truth that everything is functioning under metaphysical law. Everything is happening for a divine reason. Everything is in God's control. And with God all things are possible. So letting those truths go and replacing those with error of like, oh, I could have some random thing happen. There's nothing random that happens. Everything is corresponding to either your thoughts of fear or your thoughts of faith. And your thoughts of fear, unfortunately, a lot of them come from just not understanding how fucking reality works, for one, and then unconsciously then drawing the undesirable into your reality, for two. If you look at everything that's happening to you, then that includes your body, your mind, your finances, your relationships, your family. Everything is a reflection of consciousness, and more importantly, or more specifically, your relation to God in that consciousness. So if you aren't having God as part of the mental equation with anything that you're reacting to, that's a big part of the problem. Is not trusting in the power of God to heal that problem, to draw a better solution than you can even imagine. When you surrender those things, let them go, and take your self out of the equation, and instead of sitting there wrestling with thought, trusting that infinite intelligence will not only direct your thoughts, but is always healing. It's always happening. You are already healed. Any other thought than that is a thought of error that will perpetuate this quote unquote problem. And so a lot of the problem has to stems from danger. Feeling danger. Feeling, oh, I felt a sensation in my body, and instead of looking at it like a neutral thing, or defining it in a way that is empowering, strengthening, because whatever you're telling yourself will manifest. And you can tell yourself negatives, fearful things, limitations, fucking undesirable outcomes, or you could tell yourself the exact opposite. Either one will manifest. You're always manifesting. Get out of this idea that there's no right or wrong way to do it, because you've already been doing it. You're not learning how to do it. You've been doing it. So when you look back at your life, it's just one example after the next of what happens when you let your mind unconsciously create separation and fear. You get undesirable. You get pain. You get fucking suffering. But moving forward, all of those limitations in consciousness will be transmuted into faith, including pain in your body. And so instead of letting the story run in your mind of why this needs to continue to perpetuate the now, realize that the sensation is one thing. If you stub your toe on something, not to say that pain doesn't happen. Because if you smack your finger with the hammer, you're going to feel a fucking sensation that's undesirable. But, it can stop right there. And when you tell yourself that you're fine, that it's going to be okay, whatever you're telling yourself. Or, if it's in the case of chronic pain, where it's just like you just stand up and it's like you take a step and there's just like this piercing pain, where you could in the past, have gone, oh, this is my disease, and then you create a story around the disease and how it's progressing and how it's physical. All pain is in the mind. It feels like it's in the joint, or it feels like it's in the organ, or it feels like it's in wherever, but it's all in the mind. And that's where the solution to the problem of pain is in the mind, and letting go of this perception of danger, which you can transmute with faith, in the faith that God has already healed you, and you are healed right now. So a good example of that, because I could hear people, they're getting triggered already. It's like, well, Mike, that's all fine and good, but I'm paralyzed, or I have cancer, or I have some really serious disease. It must be nice, to be able to walk, and do this and that. And it's like, okay, part of the fucking problem is these narratives that you're triggered. Now you're fucking letting run wild. It's like, well, you believe these doctors, you believe this diagnosis, you believe this prognosis, you believe that this progression is real, you believe that your body is separate from consciousness, you believe all these thoughts. Well, it's those limiting beliefs and those assumptions that are manifesting this outcome. Look at everything going on in your life as a direct reflection of your beliefs and your assumptions, positive or negative. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. And so knowing that, though, knowing that this manifestation is a child of your consciousness and your beliefs that God is externalizing to show you, is this who you desire to be? You know, because it's just a mirror. You know, it's impersonal in that way, but not to say that God is impersonal, like God doesn't care about you. But it's like, you know, what's true of God is also true of you, in the sense that, you know, healing comes from God. You know, so you are healing, you know, and the only way that you can put that on is to be that now. And any type of thought of limitation or past belief, the past you know, that was you on the cross. You know, it's like, you want to keep suffering and everything, that you're doing what Jesus did on the cross. And the lesson I believe from that is, you know, Jesus came off the cross eventually, and so must you. You know, so you need to get off your cross and stop, you know, crucifying yourself with these pains and these diseases and this fucking mental illness, and, you know, choosing right here, right now, to acknowledge the truth of who you are, and that is healed. You know, and so, and that you're safe, you know, because so much of like the fears that can come into consciousness, you might be, you know, really an expert, you know, in like a certain area, like in your relationships or your career or whatever. You might be fucking top notch, you know, in your beliefs and your assumptions, but, you know, when it comes to your body, you might be fucking way down here, just basic, bare minimum, you know, with just one ordeal happening after the next of undesirable things. You know, what are you saying I am to? It's like, are you saying, you know, that you're unattractive? Are you saying that you're, you know, not worthy of feeling good? You know, that you need to stay in this hopeless state of just suffering endlessly until you're dead? You know, it's like, what does that do? You know, it's like, if you aren't putting on like the new being that you are right here, right now, you just repeat the same loops over and over again in consciousness. You know, and the thing of it is, it's like the undesirable things that you believe have to be transmuted, or they'll keep running in a loop over and over again and be confronted with it, because it's still in your consciousness, and everything in your consciousness is being externalized. You know, so if you believe in sickness and death and pain and everything else, you can deny it, you know, if you wanted to, but, you know, at the core of your consciousness, if you believe that, it's still there. You haven't transmuted it into faith. But, you know, the faith is that you are already what you desire to be right now. You can be, do, and have anything, and you don't have to continuously suffer. And you don't have to sit there and watch the people that you care about continuously suffer, because those people that you care about that are suffering exist within consciousness. You know, shared in your consciousness. So it's like you're seeing the suffering going on within you personified as a being. You know, but ultimately, as you pray for others, you pray for yourself, because it's the consciousness that's being healed. You know, God's always healing. You know, and so part of the misconceptions and the limiting beliefs is just not understanding part of God's nature of healing, and just not believing it. You know, it's like the only reason it is not so for you is because you just don't believe it. But you are already healed. You're already blessed. Everything is already, only love is real. You know, so everything else is an illusion. So all these like sensations of danger, when they happen in consciousness, you know, like, oh, my disease is ramping up. Oh, you know, is this going to be a bad day? Another bad day? You know, and sometimes you almost have a good day and a good day, you know, where you're not experiencing pain really, you know, and then you almost feel guilty, or you know, you hear somebody else that's like, oh, you know, they had a backslide, now it's even worse, and then you have a backslide, and it's like, that can't be the way things work. You know, if things are real, the way the materialists think that they're real. You know, it's like, if you have a thought and then that thought has a correspondence in the physical, the same thought to hurt you can also make you well. You know, and so, you know, start filling your consciousness more and more with success stories of people that have been like healed, that are healing more and more so each day. You know, it's a progression, you know, but realizing that in this moment right now that you're already healed. It's like, you know, if I was talking to maybe somebody who's paralyzed, it's like, you know, you're already healed. You're not going to get better in the future. You're already better now. You know, it's like once you let go of like the fear, the danger, all of these limitations, the worrying, fixating on it, you know, and just start taking each moment to just acknowledge the healing within, you know, is coming from God. That, you know, I don't know how to describe it other than go within yourself and ask God how to heal. You know, that's the most important thing, because you don't need these middlemen out here. It's about going within your own self, you know, asking the teacher within you, the Holy Spirit, to help show you what healing means and how to do it, and how to transmute your pain into pleasure, for example. You know, so you could feel a sensation, and this is something I've been doing and I've been experiencing it working, where feeling a sensation of pain, and I'm just going to call it, you know, a sensation from now on, you know, but feeling a sensation because I got led through this whole bridge of incidents of like working out, for example, and you're sore, but like the mental story that you tell yourself is like, oh, I'm strengthening, I'm getting stronger, I'm getting like sexier, I'm getting fucking more attractive, you know, whatever you're telling yourself, I'm getting healthier, I'm getting stronger, better, you know, than I was, you know, yesterday before I did all this. And you can deal with the same kind of pain, but it doesn't feel bad because you're like putting positive spin on it. You know, but it's the same thing if you have like, you know, if you feel the sensation of like the quote unquote disease or injury or illness or whatever, and it's, instead of like, oh shit, it's getting worse and it's disintegrating, it's just getting weaker and weaker. You know, look at it as like, no, this is healing. There's only one energy, so it's like the same energy that has a lack, you know, has an abundance, you know, so I have like an abundance of healing energy. I'm like fucking like Wolverine healing factor, you know, it's like I'm already healed instantaneously because I am not this body, you know, this is a hologram, this is a dream, you know, so it's like letting go of this idea that your body has its own separate will when it doesn't have its own separate will. That's part of the mind of separation, you know, but let those things go. And instead, you know, when you feel a sensation that you know, could respond with danger, like something bad's going to happen. Oh, I need to keep myself safe from this. Oh, I need to do something about this. Think, oh, this will be transmuted into like, it's going to pop and it's going to feel fucking good. And just by changing that mental narrative of expecting a negative to expecting a positive, like a pleasure, like, oh, it's going to pop and it's going to feel awesome, you start popping and feeling good instead of like just being painful. And you know, I don't expect you to believe me. I expect you to try it for yourself, and see that I'm not full of shit when I'm telling you this, you know. And so it's like, and I don't really even care if you think I'm full of shit, you know. It doesn't matter to me, you know. It's like I'm, you know, in a lot of ways just doing this, you know, for my own benefit, you know. But at the other end of it, for those that are willing to listen and to test it and try it, you know, hopefully they experience even more of the next level, you know. It's like take it up a fucking another notch, you know, like shoot them forward a big bit, you know. But you know, ever since, you know, kind of looking at pain in that way of like, for one, recognizing it for what it is danger, you know, the mind expecting danger, expecting a bad outcome, expecting to clinch, to get restrictive, you know. You can feel that resistance just right there in that that danger, and then there's like the mental story of like, oh shit, am I gonna die? Is this gonna progress? Is this gonna get hurt even more? And blah 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 blah. You know, just getting out of that cycle of thought, you know, and just instantaneously, just I am already healed. You know, I don't know what that sensation is, but I'm safe. I don't need to worry about it. You know, it's like, you know, looking at every time you feel a sense of danger, and there's so many times of senses of danger, you know, it's not just the body, but I feel like the body manifests that sense of danger, that emotion of danger into pain in different ways, you know. But like, just like look around, you know, it's like you have these thoughts of like, oh, you know, what if my wife is going to get in a car accident? Oh, what if, you know, I'm outside and some fucking guy tries to attack me and I need to stab him? Oh, what if, you know, whatever you're, you know, just go through your day. Just notice these little fucking scraps of danger. How much danger are you really in versus how much thinking are you like, in a sense, like a danger. You know, if you get like a little start of a headache and you think, And this has happened to me. I thought I had a brain tumor when I was like a teenager. I was getting these headaches. And it's like it would just start to come on. Well, then I didn't feel safe. Looking back, it's like, oh, that danger, and then it would manifest more and more symptoms until it got to a point where it's like I had all the symptoms of fucking brain tumor, going to the doctor for it, and all this shit. Piercing migraine all the fucking time. And then it wasn't until letting go of that danger and not giving a shit anymore that all the symptoms of that went away. Same thing as having stomach pains, like acid reflux, is like a diagnosis that I got labeled with for a while. I was taking medicine for it. And then I just stopped taking it, and then I stopped going to the doctor and everything. And I dealt with some serious, intense stomach pains for a while until, I stopped giving a shit, if I had the pain or I didn't have the pain, and then it just went away. But then there's this other persistent issue with like hip pain, where it's like that's starting to feel more and more better. It's like every day, for the past like week or so of like realizing it's just a danger pain. It's a fear that the next step is going to hurt. So it's like a fear of your own pain. And then that fucking doubles down on it and makes it worse. It like amplifies it, and then it starts to spread. And then it's like, oh, every time I move, I'm expecting pain, which then creates even more danger, which creates even more pain. It's like this cycle of it, and it's not until you start to, for one, catch it that you're in fact safe, in fact already healed. If you're already healed, if you are already that being that doesn't have to deal with this, it's all about living in the end. So it's like, so if you have like a disease or whatever, it's not I'm healing from this. What do I need to like pay attention to heal? It's more about what would I pay attention to if this was already like 6 months not even a problem. It's like, would I be going on a jog every day? Would I, what would I do? What does my day look like? What would my mindset be if I didn't have to worry about this? If I didn't have to deal with this quote unquote danger? What would what would that look like? What would I be like in consciousness? How would I feel? And then put that on right now, because that's in fact already the case. Because as you do that, as you embody the state of already being healed, then reality will mirror that belief back to you. So it's about realizing more and more so the laws of consciousness, and how things work in the metaphysical, how it happens spiritually first, and then it's reflected. Your body is the same thing. It's a reflection of consciousness. And so it is what you believe it to be. It functions the way you believe it to function. And so if you believe it to be constantly just in a state of danger, or if it's just one thing after the next, or if you feel unattractive, whatever you feel, if you feel attractive, if you feel super hot, you feel like, oh, my presence draws the opposite sex towards me, and all this, then you will experience that reflection. It's all about what you're believing in consciousness. It gets rewarded by God and by your faith, and it gets brought back to you. It's like, think of it like you had a child. It's like you have the belief, then you and God come together in agreement. God's always agreeing with you, because God wants you to be, do, and have anything and be free and be loved and everything, to express and extend love. And so it's like, so God wants, the best for you and everything else. But, in doing that, with freedom comes freedom of choice. And so you have the choice to, either curse or bless. And that includes yourself, and so if you're constantly cursing yourself, God will reward that, not that, that's ideal, but that state already exists. Creation is finished and everything already exists, and so there's a version of you, the divine you, that already knows what it is to be completely and utterly healed in every single way possible. That's light years ahead of, your current concept of self. That you can kind of embody, embody how you would already feel if you didn't have to worry. If every time that you got up, you had a nagging thought of like, oh shit, this is gonna hurt, or oh fuck, I hope I can, not, have some issue, or, that drama that you have right before. That's danger, that's fear, and instead of like reacting out of fear, start to create out of faith, in the fact that you are already healed. It's not going to hurt, it's going to feel good, and you are going to see that faith being reflected back in your body. exactly when. Divine timing's now. And so it's like, as soon as you let go of the resistance and all the limitations and the drama and the fear that manifested that state to begin with, just be still. Be still, ask God to do it, recognize that God has already done it, be thankful about it. And when you have a thought of like, oh, what if I get up and this hurts, realize I'm not living in the end. The end is, I don't think like that anymore. I don't got to worry about that anymore, because I'm whole and complete within myself, and and so continue to put that on, try that out for yourselves, and see if that's good advice, if that's full of shit. You'll never know unless you do it for yourself. But I think I'm going to balance. So, thanks everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. I appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. And until the next now, God bless.